And welcome to another edition of the Nerdy Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Pedersen, with my brother and fellow nerd, AJ. We're without our third nerd, Josh, today, because he's out in Disney World. Fun fact for the listeners, if you didn't know, I am the youngest of four in our family. There is a sister between me and AJ. Josh is the oldest. Well, I'm also the only one in our family that wasn't brought to Disney World by our parents because they brought the three other kids when I was just a baby. So I was left home with Grandma and Grandpa. To this day, never been to Disney World. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
But fun fact, I was in second grade when we were in Disney World, 8 years old, and I was dressed up as a pirate, and I got lost in the crowd of people. So I could have been gone forever.
But they found you.
They did find me.
And we're thankful they were able to find you eventually. So someday we're going to take Millie. We're excited about that. But on to the Nerdy Agent Podcast. So this week we're going to talk about pending sales, how to track it, what to look for. But essentially there was the January index of pending sales in the national real estate market came out. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the data that it showed was that it was the lowest pending sales index number historically,
yeah. And I think I'm still trying to find out if the market, trying to figure out what that index is based off of. Mm-hmm. So I think it's based off of a 2001 number. And so me and Luke were just discussing why they would do that.
Explain what an index is first, too, just if they've missed that.
Yeah, so an index is set, like they take a period of time and a data point, and they set that at 100. And so anything above 100 in this case would mean that it is a greater activity of pending sales when compared to 2001. Anything lower than 100 would mean that it is less than 2001. And the reason they do that is because if you think about it, there's a lot more homes that have been built as vacant land starts getting filled in across the country. There's new construction happening, so there's more houses. So then to index the pending sales makes it so that you're comparing apples to apples rather than comparing, let's say there were 100 homes in 2001, now there's 150. Well, the chance of having more pending sales when there's 50% more homes existing is far greater. So they take that index to show like the pending sales versus probably the total existing homes on the market.
There's it's not just pending sales. It's a calculation, and then they compare it to 2001.
Exactly.
We just don't know what it's going fully off of. What we know is that the index was obviously 100 is what it was, let's just say in 2001, if that's the example, if that's what they use. And in January, I believe the number was 70 and change.
70.6.
70.6, which is the lowest data point that ever has been shown on the index, which would include the Great Recession in 2008, where I think the lowest pending sales numbers ended up hitting like 2010, 2011. And so I wanted to also, because most of our people were in the Twin Cities area, obviously, and so most of the people listening to this are in the Twin Cities area, I just wanted to make sure you understood what the comparison was for pending sales as a data point, because we have a statistical analysis tool here in the Twin Cities marketplace called InfoSparks, where they can take all of the data from the MLS and congregate it, and we can search different things and find different data points. If you're a real estate agent in this marketplace and you don't know what InfoSparks is, please reach out to us so we can teach you about it. Maybe you can come to a team meeting. We can do a training on it. But in the Twin Cities region, in January 2025, the pending sales number was 46,000 and change. That's a rolling 12-month number. The lowest data point on this one was in 2011, where it was like 37,000.
Yeah, which is pretty wild. But you think about it, and the pending, because I have it pulled up now, Mortgage News Daily actually has the maximum pending home sales index on here, and it is showing 100 at the first data point, so that is what they're working off of. The lowest that it got during that time period was sometime in 2010, where it looked like it got down to about 76 or 77. Wow. So we're about 10% lower. So while we have more pending sales, the index is showing that the environment is worse than even it was right after that.
And that's also nationally too, so it's hard to go apples to apples. It'd be interesting to run this calculation for
just for Minnesota.
Yeah, but it's really hard to know. Important to note for real estate agents too, if you haven't been listening to some of our other podcasts, that number, the 46,000 rolling 12-month pending sales, is going to be at the lowest it's been since, if you're excluding, say, the year of 2024, because it was about that all year. But you'd have to go all the way back to 2012 to get below 45,000 pending sales.
Pretty wild. And I think the number of agents in the market is far greater because immediately following 2007 to 2009, a lot of people left the market when the pending home sales went down. So I posted the article from CNBC in our group collaboration chat, and a couple of agents popped in and said, now's the best time then because we can build for the future, which is true because you're seeing a lot of agents struggling, a lot of groups having a hard time finding clients, selling homes, lots of multiple offers because it's still a tight market. So it's really interesting to compare to that time period when there was no sales because no one could finance anything and everything was going into foreclosure. And now you're looking at it and going, everyone's got record high equity, record low rates, very few listings in the market. There's still buyers out there. You want to hear a crazy story? So I toured a home yesterday in Minnetonka, $1.2 million. Minnetonka proper. It's in Tonka Schools. $1.2 million, a 4,500 square foot house. It's beautiful. They redid the entire outside. It's got a pool in the back, half-acre lot. And I called the agent because my client said, well, this is one we'd be interested in. We've been looking for a really long time. And I said, just keep me posted if you get any offers. And she texted me that night and she said, we might just make a decision tonight. And it was the first day on the market. And I was like, wow. So I called her again. I'm like, what's going on here? And she's like, you're not going to believe it, but it's gone crazy. Like we're already in multiple offers. Prices are going very high. And I said, I can't believe that happened. I said, she didn't underprice the house. It was a good price. And she went on to tell me she has 3 offers in hand, 3 more coming. And she thinks she was driving over to the house because she was going to show it to an out of town buyer that was for sure going to offer. So she was thinking she'd have 7 offers on the first day, 32 total booked showings, 25 on the first day.
Jeez.
At $1.2 million. And so I called my clients and they just weren't, we weren't going to put it together that quickly. And, but I then, caveat at the end of the conversation with, if we're going to keep looking in this price range in this area, keep in mind when this house sells, only one person gets to buy it. It's something that I talk about with clients often is if we're constantly in multiple offers, 11 people, right? And there's only 4 or 5 homes coming up in that target market each week. Well, if there's 25 people who show that house and 7 of them decided to offer, one of them is going to get the house. The other 6 are not. So, and they're very active buyers. They're making offers. And then there's another 20 people that the next one comes on. They might like that one a little bit better and just decide to make an offer. So we might want to pivot here a little bit and try and change markets, change price points, like build a house, remodel a house, think about something differently because we might get to the point of making an offer and it might take us, 3 to 5 offers before you even have a shot.
And every single week there's new buyers entering the market. So you're adding to that number. I had another one equally wild, was a 2-story, 4,000 square feet in Eden Prairie Schools, 1990s house, nothing crazy special on it. Listed at $725. And the guy was like, yeah, I feel like I listed it accurately. Got 8 offers, sold for over 8. I told my clients it was worth $760.
It's just crazy, right? And we've talked about this before, and I talk about it openly with clients all the time, which is, if your situation dictates that you really need to make a move, and this is going to be a house you're going to stay in for, let's say, 20 years, there's really only been one 20-year, not even a 15-year time period where people actually lost their shorts on prices over 15 years.
95 to 2010?
No, if you bought in 2006, 7, 5, 2005 even, some of those homes in 2020 did sell for very similar numbers.
Sure.
I'm going to tour with those same clients. I'm hoping to tour a house that's 1.175. It was built in 2001 for 1.25.
Oh, wow.
So in 24 years, it's gone backwards a little bit. So it's interesting when you see in these pockets that does happen. And so you have to bring that up with folks. But you can also say confidently, over most periods of time, if you took a 20-year chunk and time window, even if you miss the mark by a little bit, and we do think we're topping out on the market or we're paying a little bit too much for a house, you're probably still going to end up ahead at the end of the day. We obviously can't control that, but having that conversation, I think sometimes is helpful because they often look at it in a silo, am I making a terrible choice? And it's maybe for the next 6 months, but not necessarily for 20 years.
And you do also have to keep in mind that real estate's obviously 50% emotional too, and it's a standard of living item, right? So in your scenario too, they might have said, well, this is the only one in the Minnetonka schools. My kid is going into high school next year. The middle school year's almost ending in 2 months. We have to be in the Minnetonka school district. I want to send them to Minnetonka High School. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then maybe that's worth an extra 15% over the list price just because you get it, you have your standard of living, because a house is not just an investment. And I often do say that the house you're living in, depending on what you're doing, if you're house hacking or not, isn't even a straight up investment. It's more of a standard of living play. You have to live somewhere.
It is. And I think, the only thing I will say, and I talk about often, is most people in our country, as people know, and if you look at credit card debt being at an all-time high, housing only becomes a good investment because it forces you to save for the future. So it's not going to beat the stock market in almost every time period over a long period of time. They appreciate by 3 to 5%. That's like historically what things have done. And
unless you're forcing appreciation through updates and other items.
Exactly. But it will force you to invest in it. So the stock market's not going to make you hand over $300 of principal every month. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to be diligent about doing that. Most folks just don't do a great job of doing that.
And you need somewhere to live, like we had said earlier.
Exactly.
I would just say the last piece on here I wanted to touch on is we are talking about lowest pending sales ever on that index, very low pending sales, which, I mean, it's almost March, so you would argue that it's going to be a similar environment for the rest of this year. We think listings will increase. I think we have seen some increase in listings. Will that drive a vastly greater amount of pending sales this year than last year? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe even 5% is not going to move the needle much anyways.
Yeah, down 5, up 5. It doesn't seem like it's going to go plummet. It also doesn't seem like it's going to go through the roof.
We talk to our agents a lot about having a career in real estate. You're not just getting your license to sell some houses. You're trying to have a career. Right now, more than ever, you should be thinking about this as a 5 to 10 year time horizon in an actual career, because if you can make it through this time, at some point, pending sales theoretically will pick up. They'll start building more houses, interest rates will go down, more people will move, what have you, and you need to be thinking about it that way. And so instead of stalling out and feeling bad about the fact that there aren't any sales, there's not enough clients to be had, maybe you should get out there and meet more people and hone your craft and get better at real estate and understand houses better, understand how to advise people better, learn more about the areas, do a lot of this other stuff so that when people start coming out, you can be considered the expert.
And little plug for our team, the Advisor Realty Group. We were up in January from our previous January record in total sales turned in by about 30%, I believe. So we're flying in the headwinds of the market. We've been swimming upstream for 3 years now?
And our market share has been increasing every year greatly.
Increasing every year, even with the sales going down. So we've got some special sauce over here if anybody wants to learn more.
And I would say that's not just adding agents. It's also a lot of our agents selling more houses at a pretty big clip. I mean, we have, I don't know if John's gotten to 10 yet.
We've gotten several agents at like near or at double digits already for 2025. Agents that are really jumping off with their own networks, getting from 25 sales to hopefully 35 or 40 this year.
And from 10 to 20.
Exactly.
And from 5 to 15. That's kind of always the goal, is to keep building on that. And so we're available if anybody wants to talk. Swing by our new office.
Yeah.
Where we are right now. You might hear a little bit of echo in the background because we're still building out our studio. We need to put a wall at some point. We need to put a wall here, and we need to get some soundboards. But we're really excited for the future over here at the Advisor Realty Group. So if you need anything, just let us know.
Absolutely.
That's all we have this week on the Nerdy Agent Podcast. And as always, remember, be better.